star for every town.
I don't care how undeveloped he is. I will be willing to say no human being relishes being sat upon and beaten as if he were an animal. The natural resistance was there already.
Until the killing of black men, black mothers' sons, becomes as important to the rest of the country as the killing of a white mother's son. We who believe in freedom cannot rest until this happens.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest.
Freedom is a constant struggle. Many who participated in the civil rights movement of the 1960s took part alongside a woman named Ella Baker. Ella Baker's life is intertwined with the history of that movement. In the decades of the 1930s, 40s, 50s, and 60s, she worked with all of the well-known leaders. But mainly, she worked with unknown people. Ella Baker's task was to stimulate local campaigns and help build membership. Her schedule for a week in Georgia in 1942 reads: Thursday, Savannah. Friday, Macon. Sunday, Columbus. Monday, Savannah Mass Meeting. Tuesday, Brunswick Mass Meeting. Wednesday, Waycross Branch Meeting. Thursday, Augusta Mass Meeting. Friday, Athens. She resigned from the staff of the NAACP in 1946 because she felt the organization was too bureaucratic. But she remained active in the NAACP and later became education director and president of its New York branch.
I knew Ella in those days and knew what her interests were in getting the work of the NAACP more related to the communities where the membership was.
Ella Baker was my immediate predecessor, and I succeeded her in September of 1946. When she resigned, she was greatly loved by the rank and file, the people in the boondocks, especially in the South, and they asked her at the 1946 convention to make a statement. That was in Cincinnati, which she refused to do, and I thought that was very gracious of her. She obviously had some real reasons for quitting, but she never expressed them publicly to the rank and file.
My ego wasn't at stake at any point, and I had found a greater sense of importance by being a part of those who were growing.
Ella Baker wrote that the sit-ins meant more than the right to eat a hamburger. They were a signal to the nation that young people were determined to end discrimination.
I suggested that should be some meeting in order for those who had been involved and those who were chafing at the bit, as it were, to be a part of it, to meet and to have some sense of direction. And so a meeting was held in Raleigh at Shaw.
Ms. Baker, as the executive director of the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, was the main organizer of the Easter Weekend Conference in 1960 that led to the formation of the Student Nonviolent Coordinating Committee. I mean, she sent out the appeal to various student groups.
And helped us resist pressure from the NAACP, who wanted us to become NAACP youth chapters at the various colleges where there were sit-in groups, from CORE, who wanted us to become CORE chapters at the various places where all these student sit-in groups were located, and from SCLC, who wanted us to become a youth wing of SCLC.
The ministers from the Southern Christian Leadership Conference and some others, they felt sort of left out. And they called a gathering at the home of the president of the university. And I attended it. I don't know that they had planned for me to attend it, but naturally I felt somebody ought to be there because I didn't know what was going down. And they were more concerned about how they could literally attach the young to them, you know. They didn't want to lose them because this was something new. This was vitality, I suppose. Some had been accustomed to feeling that these are children of my church, and we are the older ones. And I told them I would not be a party to that kind of bargaining.
She insisted that we had something special that was special to us. I think both because of our age and because when these other groups had been relatively quiet, with the exception of CORE, we had spontaneously broken out protest in Greensboro and in Nashville and Atlanta and Birmingham. And she impressed upon us the necessity to keep this special thing separate.
I had always assumed that my role was to facilitate, which did not involve leadership. I didn't have the need for being considered a leader. And I think that got over to them in the original meeting because they knew that the meeting came into being because I did it. But they also saw that I made no effort to become a leading figure in the meetings. And so they began to have that kind of confidence. And so they felt they could trust me to maybe further the matter of their independence.
Our original approach was always to attack the ministers as Uncle Toms and sellouts and everything else. And I think that one of the major contributions she made was to help us see them in some way that was a positive respect and some method by which we could coordinate our efforts and be non-threatening to them.
We who believe in freedom cannot rest. We